But yeah, we have the Xiaomi Mi Mix 3 here, and yeah, very excited because the Xiaomi Mi Mix line, this is the Xiaomi Mi Mix 2 here, it is a line that I constantly keep my eye on because it is one of my favourites, and that's generally down to the design. I love that sort of ceramic back, and yes, there have been some issues with these phones in the past, and hopefully with the 3rd edition, we have sorted some of those out. Let's get this unboxed. Everyone's favourite moment. Oh, that is beautiful. So very minimalistic on the front, just the Mix text there. As we flip it over, as you can see, we have the 8GB of RAM option with 128GB of storage. It also comes in 6GB with 128GB of storage version, and I believe, don't quote me on this because I'm not too sure, but a possible 10GB of RAM option as well. That is madness. 8 is more than enough than you'll probably ever need in a smartphone, and that's heavy use. If you're a light user, then you can get away with a lot less. So let's just see what comes inside. Oh! And there we have the phone. Now, one thing we know about the Xiaomi Mi Mix line is they push the boundaries on this sort of fully bezel-less display idea is probably a better word. And the 3rd version takes it to a whole new level. And that's because if we just get this out, which is impossible to do until you break it, is we now have just this bezel around the outside, no notch, no forehead, tiny little chin, but you know, very minimal. And that's because we have this mechanism right here, which I'm sure is going to get very addictive. Oh, I mean, that is very satisfying. If you're one of these people that has stress balls or fidget spinners, why were they even a thing? This is why, for people like me. I mean, that is just... I would probably buy this phone just for that. Even if it doesn't work, just for it's a pretty expensive stress thing. But it's satisfying. That's all you need to know. Now, the Honor Magic 2 also has a very similar mechanism, which hopefully I'll be able to review for you guys as well fairly soon. So we're just going to take this bit off as well. We'll get back to the front and the display in a second. We'll flip it over because this is, like I said, one of the main reasons why I love the Mi Mix line is because they take such great pride in design with that beautiful ceramic and gold back. I don't know why more companies don't make ceramic back phones. My favourite type of back is ceramic currently, until someone makes a diamond one for me. Never gonna happen. Now, one thing I am a little bit disappointed about is the fact that they decided to go against the gold around the camera lens, which I think looks really, really nice and really smart, really luxurious. However, some people will say that minimalistic, sort of more blackened version looks a bit sleeker. Personal preference. Straight away, I'm going to say the same old saying, it's a fingerprint magnet. Because it is. I mean, you're going to get fingerprints on it. It's inevitable. It's a shiny mirror, basically. You use a case, you wipe it, you know, it's one of those. Unless you get a matte product, you're going to get that. Now, as you can see, it is also marginally longer now than the Mi Mix 2. And I actually prefer the feel in the hand. To be honest, it's more rounded on the back now. It's a lot squarer on the Mi Mix 2. So it is definitely easier to hold in the hand. So this sliding mechanism is apparently meant to withstand up to 300,000 ones of these, which is more than enough for any real lifetime of a legitimate phone, unless you're planning on keeping it for 10 years. But in that sort of 2-3 yearly cycle, I mean, you'll never get there. Having said that, apparently people have tested it and it's actually worked longer than that. And it does really clunk into place. It doesn't feel flimsy whatsoever, so you shouldn't have problems with that. The one other comment that a lot of people make is that there's a hairline gap between the two sections. And to be honest, there is a tiny gap. It's not completely flush, but I would imagine that is essential to make sure there's not too much friction on those moving parts that would cause damage over time. So to me, that hairline gap, again, shouldn't be a problem. Right, so specs. Snapdragon 845, like I said, 8GB of RAM, 128GB of storage. There is no expandable storage with this, unfortunately, so you will have to go with the storage variants. I will leave all variants in the video description below, so you can go through and check out in more detail if you want more information or indeed want to purchase it. They will range in price depending on which variant you go with. Now, the price kind of varies between $450 and $550 depending on those variants, and that kind of puts it in that league of the OnePlus 6T, for example. There are bits of both that I like, and it would be a hard call, but again, in my full review, I will be able to go into more detail of the pros and cons. Also, I have a full top 7 Xiaomi smartphones video coming probably next week, and in that video I will be doing some giveaways as well, so make sure you are subscribed to the channel, you turn on the notification bell so that when I post that video you are notified. I'll also be putting more information out on my social medias, Twitter and Instagram, so make sure you go and follow them, again, if you want to stay up to date with those latest giveaways. So let's just put the phone to one side and we're going to see exactly what else is inside the box. And then we have a nice little note there from Mr. Legion, that's how you pronounce it. Apologies, Mr. June or Jun, if I've said that wrong. We have it in Chinese, I believe, and of course English. On the road of exploration, we will constantly invest, constantly strive, and constantly break through. We are willing to devote an additional 100%, even if we only improve by 1%. Be friends with our users, be the coolest company in the hearts of our users. Little messages like that, even though it's probably taken them a couple of minutes to come up with that, it's still, I think, a nice touch. Black and gold, not black and yellow.
Yeah, you know what it is. Black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow.
So, also in here, and this is one thing that I do really like about Xiaomi, they go the extra mile generally to include extras in the box. So we have, of course, the charger, the Type-C charging cable, and a wireless charger as well. And that is something that, like I said, is a nice touch, because most companies would charge you extra for that. A case, which is, again, very minimalistic, and of course, it's matte black. So if you are one of these people that's conscious of fingerprints on your smartphone, then of course you can use this as well. You're not going to get too much protection, it is quite thin, but of course it will stop it scratching and stuff like that, which generally with ceramic you should do okay. It is quite a hard substance, but it will still scratch. Buttons here to click, and we'll get onto clickable buttons actually. Let's just test those. Okay, so nice, still not my favourite. So let's power this puppy on. Puppy, and we'll see exactly what we're working with. MIUI 10, which is the latest version of Xiaomi's skin that goes over the top of Android. Now, people are generally mixed on this. I actually think it's a very clean skin. It's very neat. It's very efficient. It's very speedy, but it does feel a little bit like iOS. So if you're a stock Android fan, then you would probably want to put a launcher on it. Okay, so one thing about this, we have an AI button similar to the Bixby button on the Samsung phones. I'm not a massive fan of a sort of designated button for this, especially if it's not remappable. And I have the Chinese ROM phone here. I will leave links to the global version in the video description below as well, of course. And in the global version, that will be, I presume, Google Assistant. On this, I would probably just have to disable it and download all the Google services, the Google Play Store, for example, myself. Next up, you can choose between navigation buttons and full screen gesture, and I will always use gestures. I think it just frees up the space. Gestures working great. Swipe up to go home, swipe up and hold to go to your recent apps, and then either swiping from the left or the right to go back, which is great because then it takes into account right and left-handed people, which quite a lot of phones don't do with their gestures. They just have one side, and it works very, very well, very fluid. And to be fair, the implementation of gestures, I often praise OnePlus for their gestures, but I also think that the Xiaomi gestures are probably there or thereabouts as well, alongside Apple. Those three do gestures the best. Outside of that, even the gestures on the new Android 9 from Google, I'm not a massive fan of, if I'm being honest, or certainly there are things to improve. They've got a good thing with this. 6.39-inch display, and it is absolutely beautiful. 2340 by 1080, so it isn't a Quad HD display, but it is a fantastic Full HD Plus one, and it's AMOLED in case that's important to you. And even though there are advantages to both, a lot of people nowadays prefer AMOLED over LCD. If you don't, let me know in the comment section below why you prefer LCD. Now let's test the fingerprint sensor, which is on the back. Now, they could have put it in the display. A lot of other companies are starting to do that. I don't think that's necessary though. I think the speed of the fingerprint sensors on the back generally work fine for me, but we'll just test it. Usually Xiaomi fingerprint sensors are second to none. Let's test it now. I mean, couldn't even turn the phone around. It was that quick. Woo! So key. Right, so it's off. I mean, it's just rapid. Reliable, quick. What more could you want? Brilliant. As usual, you've not let me down, Xiaomi. Quad cameras on here, a dual rear camera and a dual front-facing camera as well. See what I did there with a little slider? Bam! In your face. Sorry. Both sets are dual 12 megapixel sensors as well. If you're wondering how it would work with the camera, you'd simply just slide down and it pops out the selfie camera. There's also like a little animation as well. When you slide it down, you get like a little blue line that goes round. So just slide it down, little blue line. I think it's pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie, I was skeptical